actually show up on my Facebook. It's almost ready, not quite. And then you can go to my Facebook and see it that we are live. And don't worry, they are used to me taking my sweet time. So we're live
Okay.
right now. So you can go to my page and click share and put it on your page. So tell me when you've done that, and I'll start in with the intros.
Okay.
Awesome. Yay, this is our
Hey,
moment
have fun.
together. How fun. Facebook people, welcome to Comic Spot. This is me again, Linda Marcus Smith. And I love everybody in comedy. It doesn't matter if you're thinking about it and you've never done it or you've done it 100 years, you have a story. And so today we have somebody who I just met through Dat Phan's Comedy with Friends at, that he does. Jenelle Van de Mortel is here. She's in the box over there with the bricks behind her. She's so beautiful and so nice and kind. And I love it when she hosts Dat Phan shows. I feel like she's in control and it's going to be a good positive vibe. And so let me read the intro that she sent to me. It says, Jenelle Van de Mortel by day and artist by night, a comedian. Wait a minute. By day, an artist, by night, a comedian. Brand new to stand up, she's been writing comedy since March and performing since September. Janelle loves the magic of stand up. Don't you love her already? I mean, who says that? The magic of stand up. I love that. Making people laugh, hosting for Dat Phan, and performing with seasoned comedians in super fun and truly a privilege. Yes, she says she is totally addicted to stand-up comedy. So let's welcome to the stage today, Jenelle Van de Mortel. Woo! Hi.
Hey, thank you so much. And you pronounced my last name correctly. Thank you.
Yes, it's a beautiful name. The Janelle with the Van de Mortel, it goes so easily, it flows off the tongue. Like your parents must have loved you.
Well, Van de
Or been
Mortel actually
artistic.
is my married name. Van de Mortel, I married someone whose heritage is Dutch. So that's the Van de Mortel. And my maiden name was Hall, just 4 little letters. And it's ironic that now it's a mouthful, Jenelle Van de Mortel, but it does rhyme. So I have that going for me.
You do. I'd love to dig into your past because I know you're relatively
Okay.
new at performing comedy, but you're not new at performing. I've seen your cheerleading pictures and I've heard you speak about public speaking, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're not
Yeah.
new
So,
to do, yeah.
so I'm going to take you all the way back to my
That's,
childhood. And we're going to dive deep. So
yes.
I have had the performing bug for as long as I can remember. I've always been singing and putting on shows and all of that. And when I got to school, I wanted to take drama and all of those classes, but my mom was a big band singer.
What?
And so she had her career till she was about 30, which was in 1956. You were a spinster at 30. She gave up her career, married my dad to have kids. Well, she wanted to make sure that I had a solid background. So I couldn't take acting classes or choral classes. I had to take accounting. And my columns they never added up. Um, but she wanted to make sure that I had that business background. And I always wanted to perform. In high school, I went to go watch the show Happy Days, and someone spotted me, and I ended up making a commercial. I had these little uh, uh, opportunities to perform and just loved it. But, you know, like I said, my mom wanted a businesswoman. When I got to college, I ended up doing a lot of central casting. So stand up, not stand up, stand in work, production work, always
Mhm.
just kind of on the fringes. And so, yeah, I have always also loved comedy. So I don't know if you got, I'm going to date myself here. I don't know if you guys remember those tape recorders with the cassettes and you could record, your radio or television. Um, when I heard a funny monologue, like on the show Moonlighting, Bruce Willis, I would tape the shows and then I would transcribe because I wanted to learn what made that so funny. So, and I was in high school then. So yeah, I've always loved comedy, always wanted to perform. Um, I guess the other part of my story that I should share with you is that uh, I did become a very successful businesswoman, and I was an executive in the tech industry, and uh, it was very high stress, and I ended up getting fibromyalgia.
Wow.
And so I had to completely give up that career. And I remember sitting on my couch, I was 43, and thinking, I have the career that I led that I thought was going to carry me into retirement is gone. My health is gone. I felt like Juliet in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet when she says, I'm past hope, past cure, past help. But the other thing, along with the performing bug in my heart, I wanted to be an artist, but I only drew stick figures. So that made that kind of hard. But on the couch, I just thought, I've never really given it 110%. And so I started painting and it was so healing. The shapes came together and I became an artist. And part of what I do now, because it was so healing for me, is I teach adults who don't know how to paint because you don't need that. I thought you needed the art chromosome. Either you could draw or not. It's a skill set, much like comedy. The more you do it, the better you get. I feel like I
Wow.
just said a mouthful.
You did. Oh my gosh. You teach people who don't know how to paint.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, right now, my students, I have the most amazing students. Most of them are seniors, like in their 80s and 70s, and they've been with me for 10 years. They didn't know how to paint when we started, and now they're having their own shows. So it's just been a real privilege to be a part of their artistic journey.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. So, like somebody like me, I identify with the stick figure drawings, you know, and I once took a chair at a hotel that I was like, I guess you could call a manager of a hotel in Florida. And there was a chair that was thrown in the bushes, and I grabbed it and started painting flowers on it. And, from a distance, it looks good, but up close, you can see I've got no real skills, but from a distance, it looked like it.
But just that you were able to do that says that you do have skills. They just need to be a little more developed, and that's, um, I sent you the picture of my husband crossing the finish line at Ironman. And
Yes.
I did that for a reason.
I want to hear this.
So, when I went to his first Ironman race, my husband has always been an athlete. And so I expected all the people at an Ironman race, which is a 2-mile swim, um, a 110-mile bike ride, followed by a marathon. I expected them to be all like elite um, athletes. And what amazed me is, of course, the first people coming over the finish line were the elite athletes. But man, I tell you, it was just every shape, every size, people that you would look at and would never think that, oh, they're doing an Ironman race. And it was so moving because I really got that it's a race of the heart. And in my life after that, um, it's really all about, you know, having the heart, having the passion. If you have that, it'll carry you through. Um, I feel like, you know, when you don't have that, it's too easy to get discouraged. When you hit the first, um, the first painting, it's like, wow, that was supposed to be a flower, but it actually just looks like a big blob. You know, to just stay the course. And all of these people, um, uh, just baby steps, trained every day. And that is what I recently have applied with comedy, writing every morning. Um, and that's, I'm just so excited that now I'm performing, and now I'm here on your show. I mean, this is
Yeah.
like dreams come true for me.
Oh, you've been doing comedy since September. You've been performing, but you've been writing since like,
Since March. So this was really cool because so my comedy story, if you want to hear that, I
yes.
have a sister-in-law whose
Mhm.
sister is Paula Faust. She's an amazing stand-up comedian. And um, I started thinking, you know, because art is very solitary. During the day, it's me and my cats in my studio, and I teach 2 classes a week. So I was thinking I'd like to maybe do something a little more collaborative with more people. And I was thinking maybe improv or something. And so I went to lunch with Paula because I wanted to ask her about her comedy. And she came with some books, and she was just like, here's what you're going to do. We're going to do stand-up comedy. And the books were the New Comedy Bible by Judy Carter.
Mm.
And the quarantine started, I think, the next week. And so I had these books, and Judy Carter did a free workshop every Tuesday. And so I started joining those and doing the exercises, and just, I know that, Linda, that you know this, but the comedians, the community is just so amazing,
Yes, it is.
and really, that the people showing up for that workshop were all new comedians, um, and that she did it for free for quite a while, really gave me a solid foundation. So that's what got me writing every day, doing the exercises in her book. I completed the workbook. Um, and then I knew that I wanted to do um, a performance because I felt like I had maybe a minute or two. And I met a comedy buddy at Judy Carter's workshop, and she gave me Dat's um, contact info. And he was amazing. I mean, I really recommend anyone who wants to do comedy, that has written some jokes and is ready to do their first open mic. Um, he he was so, because you guys, I was petrified, and he sensed that. And so the first couple times that I did my open mic, I just said, hi, I'm Jenelle Van de Mortel. I'm going to give my time back to the room. I'm really happy to be here, and I am scared out of my wits. But it made it really safe and really easy. And then when I told the jokes that first time and I heard those first laughs, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yes, yes. You know, one of the things about me that I sense you might be similar to me in is that it's great to tell jokes, for laughs sake to a general audience, jokey joke, ha ha, jokey joke, ha ha. But I really like going and doing comedy with a purpose, like a targeted group of people that really need to laugh. And like I've gone and um, Like there's a place called A Million Laughs by Will and Yvonne Morton, and they go all over 3 counties around LA, and they go to nursing homes, VA hospitals, mental institutions. They go to prisons, and like there's so many ways to use comedy for healing.
Yes, and that is what that I just think. Comedy is laughter is truly the best medicine. And yes, I know that you've also done a lot of work with the veterans. And I
Mm-hmm.
really love that because
Thank you.
there are, like you said, groups of people who really need the laughter. Like, I really think nursing homes, yes. And I would love to do that. I would love to do
Yes.
that. Once
They
this,
love it.
once the crazy quarantine is over, I do hope to do that. And I like how you phrased that comedy with a purpose.
That's how I feel about it. Like it's not fulfilling to I mean it's fulfilling to hear that you what you wrote got a laugh, but and you get so much more out of doing it for marginalized groups of people. Like I did comedy at a battered women's shelter
Mm,
and psych wards, and like
that's awesome.
I
That's
I
awesome.
love it. Like the more difficult the scenario, the harder the hardship. In some ways, it's easier to make them laugh because they're so tense. They've got so much they're dealing with. They really need, but it's so rewarding.
Oh,
So
yeah. I hope that I can do that one day, Linda, because that really, um, like you said, it's one thing to tell your jokes and they're funny, haha, but to bring them to people who truly need laughter, who truly need to remember that, life can still be fun,
yeah,
um, is really at the end of the day what it's all about.
I'd love to go do comedy at a children's cancer ward.
Mm.
But there's this whole thing about children don't get a sense of humor till a certain age, and translating what I know of comedy to a younger crowd isn't that's a whole nother learning curve. But there's so many marginalized groups, and well, right now everybody needs to just laugh. So
And I can totally say that doing this during quarantine has been amazing. It's been amazing, and especially since doing the open mics and the shows, because even if I totally bomb, I laugh so hard at everybody else that by the time the show's over, my cheeks hurt. No matter what place I was in before the show started, I feel completely different.
yes,
I think, and that is the gift of comedy,
yes. I
of
mean, it takes
laughter.
you out of your head, and a lot of people have addictions like gambling to forget their problems or drinking, and like when you can just let yourself forget your problems based on this person's saying some funny stuff, and then he's done and she's saying some funny stuff, and what's the next person going to say? It's a mindful thing you're doing in the moment, and it makes you forget your own pain. It really does.
Yes, so I think laughter and exercise are
Yes.
the two healers, and water.
Yes,
You know,
exercising kicking in endorphins, and laughing kicks in endorphins, and well, water just flushes anything out, right?
yes. I wish I could remember the gentleman's name, but there's a very famous story about a man who got cancer and he just started watching every funny movie that he could find. And he literally feels like he laughed his way to a cure. Um, Obviously, not everybody can do that, but I just think that the element of laughter improves health no matter where your health level is at.
Yes. They've proven that there's groups of people, I think in some places around Japan, that have laughing groups where they they have a practice to get together and laugh hard, and they're showing that they live longer, they live happy.
Oh
and
my gosh,
we
I've never heard of that. That's so cool. I'm totally Googling that as soon as this is over.
I
That's
probably have the
awesome.
wrong country, but you get the point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Wow, what a beautiful thing to do.
yeah, it
That was,
works.
one of my requirements. I didn't get married until I was 38. I was
Wow.
not going to settle for, I came close. And fortunately, I think we dodged that bullet. We were much better friends. Um, but one of my requirements is of marriage from when I was little, well, not little, but, um, just I've kind of always known was that economics can come and go. What I want is a partner who's going to make me laugh every day. And my husband is hilarious. He actually helps me write my stuff.
That's
He's just a
great.
very funny guy. And, um, that laughter can save relationships. It's just one of the most positive things that we have in life,
It
you know?
is. And, really, I don't want to be political, but for a second, I do feel that for the pandemic to say to, legal, make it illegal right now for some comedy saying it's not essential just really bothers me. In a pandemic, I think what's sorely needed is comedy.
More,
Too many people
yes.
are on the edge right now. Comedy can save their lives.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm so glad to see all the comedy shows that are available on television because everybody is streaming right now. Um, and tons of comics are doing their hour shows, and that's really important.
Yes, and they're providing it at no charge at some, sometimes they are. And I know some comics are like, you shouldn't put all your material out there because then nobody will want to hire you because they've seen you. And I'm like, I don't know. I think people
That's
need to laugh right now.
Yeah, and you know what? Not to Well, I have to disagree philosophically. I don't think the well goes dry. I think if you write material, you don't have to worry about putting out all your material because you'll be able to put out more. It's just like when you do a painting. I took this great art class where we had to do a small painting.
Mhm.
This class was about creativity, and then the teacher had us destroy it.
And
And
what came out of that?
everybody was like, no, but we all destroyed it. And she said, you shouldn't fear destroying this because you have the ability to create hundreds of these.
Yes.
There's an endless supply. And so that's with comedy, it's the same. And also, too, I really would like to think that um, comedy, you want to stay current, you know, um, you want to keep growing as a comedian. You want to keep writing. And so, my best material today hopefully will not be my best material 6 months from now,
It
you know.
won't be. It won't be.
Thank God for that.
I was living in Philadelphia and I needed to leave, and I had written 38 pounds of jokes, two big boxes full, and then 5 pounds in an attache bag. And I didn't want to drag them around the continent anymore. And so I threw them down a dumpster. I risked throwing out everything I'd written up till that point, just like 2 years ago. And there
Wow.
was nothing. The minute I threw them out, this big weight of when are you going to go through all that material and make it more current and beef it was gone. And it was so cathartic that literally it's like my mind freed up to write a whole bunch of stuff that would have never come.
Wow.
It was weird. It was kind of like
Wow.
your teacher having you throw away that
Yes.
art.
Yeah, exactly. That's so interesting. So, how long have you been writing comedy? How long have you been doing comedy?
I started March 13, 2014.
Because I just
Six
assumed you'd
years.
been doing it forever. You are
No.
so funny and your delivery is so special.
Oh, Gosh, thank you. I want everybody to feel or know for sure that I just love them. Like, I get a kick out of getting people to laugh before I take the microphone in my hand. Like the way I get up, the way I go to the stage, and like I just want them to it's gonna be breezy, it's not gonna be real intelligent, don't sweat it, but I'm not saying that. I just like the and then I love throwing myself under the bus, and I need to quit doing that. And it's just become my way of coping, but I have to find a way to do less of that and more intellectual comedy, and that's going to be a real. Hopefully tomorrow on the show at Dats, you'll see some improvement.
Well, that's the whole part about pushing, the envelope. Last night's show, I actually had a lesson with Dat before, and I had a very unusual childhood, and so he wanted me to talk about that, which I typically do not talk about, and I was very nervous, and I did, and it was very cathartic. It got laughs. And I was really surprised at how healing it was, you know?
Yes.
And that, I think, and the reason I share that is I think there's always that little next step to take to push the envelope to make our writing and our performances better.
Yes. Yes. He had me do a lot of the military stuff about how I got injured and came back and got in a brain injury and stuff. And I didn't want to do it. I want to stick with the easy self-deprecating stuff. And he goes, "You're really not all that interesting to me. You're not going very deep." I'm like, "Duh." It's a
Yes, he said
comedy.
that. He said that to me too.
Like,
Yeah, and I totally get his point. And just so you know, he bragged about you
he
to
did?
me. Yes, saying that, and saying that you shared about your brain injury, and then when I saw you that night on the show, that was part of your bit, and that's, that is something I never would have known about you ever. I mean, I never would have guessed that. And you're sharing that probably helps so many people experiencing that, you know?
Yeah, because like it's hard to take feedback and then apply it right away. Because I too was on a one-on-one with him, and he goes, "Well, can you jump on the mic right after it?" And I'm like, "I haven't had time to process what
That's
you
what he did to
said."
me too. That's what he did to me too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't have time to write it. And so I was just like, okay, here we go. But it worked.
yeah. And I'm real. I have. He wanted it said his way, and I had to work it into mine. So, like my rhythm and my tone and my pacing and pause, whatever. It's got to be me saying a few of the things he wanted me to cover. And it does make sense, the stuff he said to use, and I'm going to keep using it. But a lot of the stuff about the military and the brain injury is so damn depressing. Can we be real? How much do people want to hear of that in one set? A little
That
bit.
is that. Yeah, I totally understand that. I do. But I think it's awesome to share once in a while, or whenever you, I guess we all pace the audience. So when you pace the audience and feel that it's appropriate, to have that to be able to share, I think is huge.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because and he explained this, I'm sure he said the same thing to you, that is sharing a piece of our soul.
Wow, he did
And
say that.
sharing a piece of our soul is the way to touch others' souls through comedy. And I think it's very easy, especially as a newcomer, to just want to try to be funny. And I'm on the surface and I'm just trying to get laughs. And, if there's one thing I have found out is when you try to be funny behind this mic, it really doesn't work. There has to be a truth. There has to be there has to be you have to be coming from a place that's true. So yeah, it's just been it's I'm just starting, and it's a fascinating journey.
It is. And it's not always easy. It can be painful. I cried last night like a baby with this new stop self deprecating and get down to the real. It's like, okay, but for 69 years, I've been putting myself down and getting laughs. So, how's this going to work? But yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
but
challenge.
yeah, and it's just it's just a little shift in the road.
Yeah.
It's just
That's,
a little course correction that, typically those are really super uncomfortable at first. Um, there's a bit that I do uh, about emojis. I'm sure you've heard it.
yes. Yes, I like it.
And it's really, it's taught me a lot, because when I first started doing it, um, I wasn't explaining why I was so frustrated with the emojis. And it took me a while to realize why I was so frustrated with the emojis. And the truth is, I love words. I'm passionate about words. And so when people use emojis and then I don't understand what they mean, and I have to take the time to go look up all the meanings, um, that that is what is the truth behind that bit, that it took me a while to get to. Um, and it didn't, you know, it didn't ring true until I found that truth. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I find emojis and those kind of things to be like a pacifier. Like, I love you, shut up, here's a pacifier. And it's like a shortcut. It's a quick fix, and nothing can replace like a hug or spending time. Talk is
And that,
cheap.
yeah. So, and that is part of what I say, the little pink heart with the yellow bow. I just think it's so much more powerful to tell that person your friendship is a gift, you know?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, uh, so people may think that, I guess what I'm trying to share is, people may think emojis is dumb. What a dumb thing to talk about. But, you know, it comes from I'm passionate about words,
Yes. That makes a lot of sense.
as opposed to just trying to get the laugh.
Yes. I can't tell you all the things I've said in 6.5 years just to get a laugh.
Yeah,
And
it's, and there's such there's a talent to doing that. And it is mastery to be able to know, hey, if I say this, I will get a laugh.
yeah, because you're so hungry for laughs. And it's so great that you're getting coaching from the very beginning to come from a place of authenticity and truth. I didn't even know the word authenticity until 2 years ago when I threw all those jokes in the trash. I had to look up what it is to be authentic. I had no clue, none.
That's awesome, though. What an amazing journey,
Yeah,
and what an important thing to share with people who want to start writing and want to do stand-up comedy.
yeah. It's so important to really be. The crowd can tell if it's a joke just to make them laugh, or if it like it can be something that's really true in society. They'll laugh because it's true, but it'll touch their soul, like you said, if it's true about you and they know it and they feel it. You know.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole humanity part that I love, and that is that's part of all of the arts. When you share your humanity, or you touch someone else's humanity, um, it's really, it's a very cool thing.
Yeah, then you're doing much more than just reciting words and getting a laugh, and or painting and getting a smile. You're making someone get the body goosies by something that you painted or
You
something you
know,
said.
um, so how I was talking about Dat saying sharing the soul.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting a piece of your soul out there. What I can share with you, that I've taken art classes like from named artists where there's maybe 200 people in the class. And I get chills whenever I talk about this because at the end of the class, we are all painting the exact same picture. Everybody holds it up and everybody's is just a little bit different. There's some kind of essence that comes out of you through your hand onto the canvas. And that is, I think, when you say authenticity, that is the thing that's coming out of us through the microphone.
That's a beautiful thing to think about. You know, it takes a long time as a comedian to find your voice
Yes,
and
and I
your
still don't have mine.
persona. Well,
Yes, I'm still, yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you brought this up because, yes,
and
I,
that's kind of like your voice in paint form. And like your voice and your persona, your voice is your voice, and your persona is your persona. And, you know, when you get your persona and your voice challenged, like last night, I had the self-deprecating persona challenge. It's like a pillar in you know, you're clinging to it. This is who I am, and every joke is going to revolve around this. And then they're like, oh, we're going to take that away, and you're like, holy Toledo, what am I going to talk about now? You know, what's my persona? Because it takes so long to find it. And you know, but you know what I found out is that being self-deprecating to the point that I have been self-deprecating literally makes people in the audience uncomfortable. And I was so busy being self-deprecating, I didn't even realize that. I was just like, whatever, if you don't get the joke, I'm going on to the next joke. And I, now that I look back, I can see looks in people's faces in my mind of them feeling uncomfortable for me.
wow. Wow. Okay.
So this will
So,
be an interesting journey.
yeah, I think I really acknowledge you for that because you are willing to take that on. And that's scary. I mean,
So scared.
it's scary to get up behind the mic anytime because you don't know if, you know, I hope other people think what I think is funny. I hope they find it funny. And they
You're
don't
very
always.
funny.
Thank you. That means everything. And so are you. I just love your delivery. I love that you wear prom dresses. Um, I really uh, love the glamour and elegance that you bring to your comedy.
Thank you. That's really, that came out of like being raised by a father who was Jewish that felt that I needed to wear dresses all the time, not pants. And I didn't like him saying that, but you know what? I guess I'm really comfortable in a dress. And I get a lot of it. I'm no spring chicken, and I get a lot of attention in a dress that I don't get in. People don't even notice me if I'm wearing jeans. They don't. It's true.
Well, you're beautiful. And
Thank you.
the fact that you bring the glamour to it, I hope at some point that I can do that as well. It reminds me very much of Rita Rudner.
Yes. Now
You know,
I met her. I spent last New Year's with her, and she took one of my jokes.
oh my
And
gosh.
that was the day that I said I would wear prom gowns on stage because of Rita.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love her.
I love her
Yes.
too.
And I think there needs to be more femininity in our stand-up comedy and
Too.
more glamour. It's the majority of comedians are male. And I think, uh, I think that bringing the glamour to the stage, um, with intelligent, funny humor, is a great thing, and you do
Yes.
that.
Thank you. I'll tell you what I like about your comedy, you know, because I'm getting to know you, but I'm getting to know you mostly through your comedy. You have such effective pauses. I love the fact that you take these breaks, and it's not like you're taking them to think or remember what you're saying. You have planned effective pauses, white space, like negative white noise, time for me to rest and not worry, and you're not pushing me blah 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 blah. You're like, you say something and then you pause, and it's such a relief to have someone deliver comedy at a slower pace, because that puts you ahead of people who are, who started comedy at the same time. It's the what your pacing is making you look like you're 5 years in the business.
Thank you so much. And guess who taught me that?
Dat Phan.
Dat Phan.
He
Yes,
did.
pauses. And yeah, just how important they are. I still remember doing a set and being petrified. And so just really going as fast as I could through it. And I could hear laughs, but I then was talking over the laughter. Um, and you don't want to do that, you
Yes.
know?
I'm
I
very
also,
good at that still. I'm still very good at stepping on the neck of a laughter. I can
but
hear the
you
neck
have
break.
your pauses are your pacing and everything is wonderful.
Thank you. I'm working on it. It's brand new to slow down.
And it's hard to slow down.
It is.
But I also, and with Zoom, um, one of the things that I have found is um, uh, the other thing that DAT has taught me is internal dialogue. So I'm not looking at the gallery to see if there's laughs. I'm just delivering my set. And so, a lot of times there won't be a laugh, and I will be doing my pause, just staring at the green dot, and then people start laughing. So it's an interesting thing.
Wow. That's encouraging.
Yeah. So I think in business, I make the analogy when you're like negotiating a deal, the ability to stay silent longer, just to be with a silence, um, is very powerful because the person on the other side is not comfortable and they will start talking. Do you know what I mean? And so it's actually a tool of negotiation. And it makes so much sense to me why it would be a tool for different reasons, but yet a tool in comedy, because the silence is very powerful.
Wow. So what you're saying might mean something to the effect that it would cause tension, and the tension could build for a release.
Yes,
So to use
exactly.
it in your
Oh,
favor.
so much. So you put that so much more eloquently than I did. But yes, that's exactly what I meant. Yeah.
I'm going to
And
start playing with that more.
yeah. And, you have the experience of being in front of crowds and being in
Yeah.
front of people and that whole energy exchange. I did musical theater. And so, wow, the energy of the crowd and that energy being different every night. Um, I'm really, really looking forward to that. And I wanted to ask you, um, what is your experience of that?
So being in front of people doing comedy at different venues and different
Mm-hmm.
types of people. Well, I've done comedy in Southern California in 3 different counties. I've done it in Oregon, Washington, New York, Philadelphia.
Wow.
So I've lived in New York 3 times, and I've been part of the Gladys Simon comic strip live scenario. So
Wow.
that's been like, Gladys Simon will help you get where you need to go. If you're ever in New York, you got to hook up with her. And she pulls no punches, and she pushes you to, I mean, she's the reason I turned my hair blonde. She goes, the gray isn't working for you. And like, this has been a wonderful choice. But the crowds, oh my gosh. So I've been self-deprecating wherever I've gone, but I've also like found that what people like to do is laugh about the city you're from. So when I'm in Oregon and I just got back from New York, I would tell funny stuff about New York. And then if I'd go to New York, I'd say I'm from Oregon and I got a whole bunch of stuff on my city, you know. And now I'm in Vegas, so I got stuff on everywhere I've been, you know. So I've tried to turn that into, but I love crowds. Oh my gosh, they put me on a show in in Southern California my first month in comedy, and I was not anywhere near ready. And so I did, and I had a set, you know, I had a set, and I had a preamble to the set because I was insecure and I should have been. And so I was like, la la la, I'm gonna just tell you a couple jokes, and then I'll get to my set. And this lady in the very back, full audience, it was all military people. They'd gone to a military ball and they were coming to the show because of me. And they were all sitting there hoping for magic. And I made the laughter disappear real quickly. And so, way in the back, this lady goes, I did a couple preamble jokes, and she goes, "So when's the comedy gonna begin?"
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, "Okay, I get my first heckler," and
Oh my
I like,
gosh.
and like I wasn't even ready to be up there. And of
What did you
course, you did.
do? How
I
did you
said,
respond to that?
I didn't. I'm glad. Yeah, I didn't know how to respond, and so I just did something guttural, and I just said, "That is so rude. That is so rude." I didn't know what to say. I had nothing up my sleeve. Nobody told me what. I didn't know how to handle
Did
a
did
heckler.
people laugh when you said that?
No. So then I pushed the envelope and I said, "Excuse me, ma'am." I said, "In the back of the room, I saw these two exit signs. You know, it dawned on me there's two, and that's like an airplane." So I go, "In the back of the room, you'll see two exit signs. Pick one." Basically told her to get the heck out.
Wow, that's bold.
And you shouldn't really do that, but people laugh. And the funny thing is, she was with the group. In theory, they didn't want her sitting with the group. She was off to the side, and they laughed because they couldn't stand her, not because of what I said.
But it all worked out. Yeah,
Yeah.
the heckling is I haven't had that experience yet. I think on Zoom we have different kind of hecklers, like the cat that walks in the frame of the audience member, and then everybody looks at the cat. Or what was that? I don't know if you were on the show where the wife started asking the husband, "Do you want some chili?" You remember that whole scenario?
So funny. Oh, you get so many different kinds of heckling. Like, you could be doing your set and somebody drops a glass, or somebody gets up to leave at a table, and it distracts your mind. And there's accidental heckling, like sometimes people just need more meds and they can't keep their mouth shut. That's accidental. That's not even premeditated. And then you got the premeditated. I'm not going to heggle till I have three more drinks, and they're the ones to look out for. They
I
thought it
think,
was.
that's the other thing, because the Zoom audiences are just at home. So they are not at a club on their second or third drink. And so um, I always feel like the laughter from them is very genuine and um, uh, just very, very real,
Yes.
just very natural, maybe even harder won than it might be in a club. But I've never, I say that, and I'm like armchair comedian here because I've never performed in a club. But uh, yeah, I would think that um, there are different challenges in both venues. I find it really interesting that there are some comedians who say that they would never do a Zoom show because it's not real comedy.
No.
And I don't
So
understand that.
it has to do with, like, okay, so there's levels of comics. There's brand new comics, and then there's those that are veterans, 20 to 30 years, and they've traveled the world doing Armed Forces Network comedy and every club in America. And they're the ones that are bucking against the Zoom because it's free and it's accessible, and you're giving away all your jokes, and you don't have a real audience. you can't get the feedback and feel the crowd and work with the crowd. You just have to do it differently. And they want to hold off and wait to get back to what has been their way. And I get it. It just gives an opportunity for us who don't mind it to bridge that gap and get closer to what they're, by the time this pandemic is ever over, we're going to have some real skills and we're going to be fresh with performing. And then our only conflict is going to be translating from Zoom to the real audience, which is easy. You know, it is easier to do your comedy in front of a live group of people. You can read them better. You hear, you watch their moves, you can do crowd work with them, it is easier. So
You
I
know,
think that you're going to have a very easy transition as opposed to the opposite way. I think it's hard to go from what they're doing to what we're doing.
that's so interesting. The other thing that I really am grateful for is I feel like this is a very special time to learn how to do stand-up comedy, because they're the comics like Judy Carter, Kara Sultanovich, Dat Phan, they're usually touring. They are not usually available to do workshops and lessons. And the fact that I can do an open mic, 4 or 5 times a week and maybe 3 shows, in real time, I would be driving maybe once a week to an open mic, you know.
Exactly.
I feel like this is like the accelerated course, and I want to grab a hold of as much of it as I can for as long as it lasts. Although I
Exactly.
don't I don't see Zoom going away. I
No.
see it being like an accoutrement to um, kind of like, baseball. When they show the baseball game on TV, they black out, they don't show it where it's being played,
Oh, okay.
but you can buy like pay-per-view if you're, say, across the country. I think it'll be the same thing for like really big, say Chris Rock is in England. I think Zoom will allow people that are at home like you and I to be able to, pay less of a ticket and be able to still watch a show,
Oh, wow.
and see something that we wouldn't have access to.
I've really enjoyed the Zoom shows and the Zoom mics, because,
I do too.
well, like with Zoom, you and I were side by side on, you see us side to side right now, don't you? Well, that's
Yes.
that's what Jimmy Fallon and the boys at late night are doing. They've been doing this. So everybody's on the same stinking, same page. Like it used to be, those people were televised doing so much more than we could do. And now we don't have a laugh track. We don't have an audience. And it's just us interviewing each other, talking to each other, bonding. And so it's not good for them, but it's encouraging to us new in the game that you take away all those extra layers and you see the raw talent coming through. And
Yeah.
we're seeing the raw talent. We're used to seeing this raw talent. I don't know that they're used to it, but we are.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. It does. It definitely levels the playing field.
There we
And
go.
I actually appreciate that you just hit your mic, because last night, I'm not used to all this equipment yet because I just got the headphones and I just got the microphone. And I thought last night I was hosting, I'm just going to leave it in the stand. And that way I can clap and everything. I hit my mic so many times that it became like a funny part of the show. And and so, yeah, I just coordinating all of this it's not an easy thing. And
No. Oh my
that whole
gosh.
tech piece is another uh, really important component, because now we all have these little Zoom studios, right? You
Yes.
have to have the lighting and you have to have your microphone, and and it's amazing, the quality of your voice really plays into, how well people can understand your jokes.
Yes. And you go back and look at what you've produced, and like I've listened to some of my sets at Dad's, and my volume was up too high, and it sounded like I was screaming through the whole thing. You
Yeah,
just
see, I don't,
learn.
I'm still trying to learn that. Um, yes, there's all kinds of nuances.
Yeah, and as an artist, you're an artist in a number of ways, and now you're an artist this way. And as artists, we never sit back and go, okay, let me have a bonbon, I've arrived.
Oh,
Artists are
no,
never that way.
no, never. And it's, I'd like to say that it's because we're always pushing the envelope to get better. But I think a large part for me is, there's a lot of insecurity, so
Absolutely.
I got to improve. I got to get better. I got to, make sure everything is in place. Um, my husband went to the World Championships in outrigger canoe paddling several years ago, and it's where they paddle from. Uh, I think it's Maui to Lanai across the channel. It's a yearly race in Hawaii, and his team I think came in second in the world. And when they interviewed their captain, and the captain said, what do you attribute winning to? And the captain said, we attribute it. He goes, I would attribute it to having, a boat full of insecure athletes that want to keep their seat for next year.
Funny.
You
You
know,
know, it can really motivate you. If you let your insecurity motivate you, I don't know that it's a bad thing.
no, I think it can be a very, very positive thing.
I think a lot of it can be that, like they say, necessity is the mother of invention. Well, sometimes necessity to love yourself is a great motivator, or to be noticed, or to be get accolades, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to be recognized for doing what they do, you know, um, be recognized for doing it well at some point,
Yes,
mastering your craft.
yes. It doesn't matter
And
what
I'm,
a person's doing, whether it's painting or cheerleading or being a wife or trying to be self-deprecating. If you're continually trying to do it better or make it more palatable for others to view it, it's going to get better over time if you're really into it.
yeah, it's like playing an instrument. It's that repetition. It's funny because, like with art, um, some people only paint one thing. They only paint roses and they master painting roses. It's really all about um, repetition. And what do they say? I don't know if you read the book The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, but he says, it's 10,000 hours. So when you have 10,000 hours in, that's usually what it takes to master something.
My goodness sakes.
Yeah, so I am nowhere near mastering comedy.
Me neither. Oh my
I'm at
gosh.
the very beginning of the trail.
I talked to a comedian the other day that's been on stage 5,000 times. Just like,
That's
oh my gosh.
amazing.
Some of these
Yeah.
people have sacrificed, like the comedians who came before us, especially the women, like
Oh my
sacrificed
gosh.
relationship with their children and their spouses, and
That's the part I think that I understand why, how you explained at a higher level. Those comedians, I can understand why they don't do the Zoom comedy because they have paid the price. They got on the bus and they went to, hotels that probably stayed in hotels that weren't so great. They toured, they did, and touring has got to be really great and really hard,
yes.
and they, as you say, they have sacrificed big time.
Yes. And like a lot of times, us newer comics, I'm putting myself in the same boat with you because my trajectory has been very slow. There's been thousands of comedians who have made it way past me for the first year in their comedy. And I'm glad for my slow trajectory, but for us newer comics, um, we do not stop to recognize and thank. I know it sounds trite, the
No, it
service.
doesn't. No, it doesn't. Not at all.
They, like if somebody's been doing comedy for 7 years, I mean, I think they deserve us to buy them a drink or sit and get to know them a little or pick their brain or at least tell them thank you for sacrificing family and God, like all the things you must have given up to make just to make people laugh.
Yeah, especially those like Phyllis Diller, Toady Fields, Joan Rivers. You know, they were really uh, they were really in an all male environment, in a really difficult, I think, environment, and
Yes.
sacrificed the relationships and all that stuff.
And then, like we should know the comedians that came before us, men and women, and the styles, and not just come up on stage and go, here you go, here's my stuff. Like,
Yeah,
do your homework and do some justice to those that came before. Know what's protocol on stage. Like, here we're kind of buffered and safe, but on a stage, there's a whole protocol to taking the mic and putting the mic away, and it's a step-by-step thing. And some people get up there and go, they laugh about it, and it's a tradition. It's like going
mm,
golfing and talking when people are making a shot. Like, there's so many people that sacrifice so much to have a protocol with the microphone before and after you talk. Respect it. That's,
yeah.
stuff like that. It's a
That well,
serious.
and that's part of the magic too. All that history. You know, I remember. I still love Bob Hope. There's
Me
that
too.
whole school: George Burns, Bob Hope, all those guys that did vaudeville shows. They have a certain kind of humor, you know, that they
Yes.
brought up into the 50s and 60s and 70s. Um, and really, I mean, they were the first comedians that we had on TV. And
Yes.
understanding that kind of humor. Um, and probably are the ones, I could be wrong, that created a lot of the protocols with the microphone and um, those. I love those things. Like in musical theater, you don't say Macbeth if you're on the stage and you don't whistle. You know that that is protocol. Macbeth is bad luck. And I guess in the olden days, sailors were the ones who rigged the backdrops. And so the signals that they had were whistling. So they'd whistle and then drop a backdrop. And apparently, if you whistled, they'd drop a backdrop and people would get killed. That's the story. But, you know, just I think those traditions are what make, um, are a part of the beauty of comedy, you
Yes.
know?
I don't want the traditions behind comedy or anything to get lost. I'm
No,
kind of that
no.
way.
You know, I did in my 20s, I did some TV, uh, uh, movie TV stuff. And one of my favorite things was the history. So one of the things that would happen is when they were at the second to the last shot, they would say this is the Abby Singer shot, because Abby Singer was a director in the 40s. And typically, if you were at the last shot in the 40s, they'd say, hey, this is the martini shot, because they'd wrap and go drink martinis. Well, Abby Singer would always say, this is the martini shot. And then he'd say, no, wait, we're going to take one more shot. I want to do this one more time. So now the second to the last shot, they call the Abby Singer shot, and then the last shot is the martini shot. It's just stuff like that, you know, the just little bits of history.
Yes, yes. Well, I went over, and my 11 o'clock interview is now wondering
Oh, my
where I'm
stars.
at.
I can't even believe we've been talking for an hour. Oh my
it's
gosh.
it's been the best talk ever, getting to know you. I knew
Oh,
there was so much. I didn't yet invite anybody else except I invited Dat months ago, but I never invited anybody else. I don't think from Dat's on. I interviewed Susan Sager before I went to Dat.
Oh, wow. Well,
So I
this
thought
is,
of all of the people, you are the most you. I felt so much depth behind you that I wanted to hear your story
oh,
first.
that I could not receive a bigger compliment, Linda. And I certainly hope when the pandemic is over, you and I have to get together one-on-one. This has been a privilege. Thank you to all your listeners. Thank you so much. And I will stop talking so you can get to your next interview. But really,
And I'll see you more at Dat Phan's.
Yeah,
And I can't
tonight.
wait to see you there. Tonight I'm not on, but Friday. Today's
Okay.
Thursday, right?
Yes. So I'll see you tomorrow night.
Okay, good night.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. How do I get out of here today? Love you.